We are all connected through shared experiences, and while our circumstances may vary, there is almost always a common thread in our stories. I am Amy Seaman, and these are the stories that connect us. I have been driving my Lincoln Aviator for almost a year now, and I can still confidently say it is the best vehicle I've ever owned. In the middle of a Minnesota winter, the heated steering wheel, heated seats in the front and back, and the Lincoln Way app that lets me start my car from anywhere, these are absolute game changers. But what really sold me on Apple Autos wasn't just the car, it was the experience. This was the first big purchase I made on my own, and not once did I feel pressured or talked down to. There was no upselling, no gimmicks, just a team that genuinely cares about helping you find the right vehicle for your life and budget. If you're looking for a new car, visit one of Apple Auto's 8 locations and experience a different way of buying. If you get home and you change your mind, they offer a 7-day money-back guarantee, no questions asked. Go see them today and tell them A Common Thread sent you. You won't regret it. I'm in what I like to call my Pam Anderson era. I am simplifying. I'm trying to embrace my natural beauty. I'm trying to strip down to the basics. But let's be real. I am not Pam Anderson, so I wasn't getting quite the same results. I realized that the biggest miss was in my skin. It was looking dull, tired, I had a lot of sunspots, broken capillaries, fine lines, wrinkles. Basically, just years of neglect were catching up to me. So I went to Infinite Youth Med Spa, and after a quick consultation, they recommended Moxy plus BBL laser treatments. I've had just 1 of 3 sessions so far, and I cannot tell you how many people have commented on how much I'm glowing. It's the kind of confidence boost that I don't think I really knew I needed. What I love about Infinite Youth is that they never made me feel like I needed anything. They just listened. They get that we all have our own insecurities, and they help you make the right choice for you without overdoing it. If your skin is feeling tired, if you're looking to simplify, trust me, the best investment you can make is not in makeup, it is in skincare. Go rebuild your confidence at Infinite Youth Med Spa and tell them A Common Thread sent you. Hello, friends. Welcome to another episode of A Common Thread podcast. I'm your host, Amy Seaman, and today I have one of my favorite people with me, David. We're going to determine the last name.
Say it.
Kisan. I've always said David Kisan.
Oh, at the end. Kisan.
Kisan.
So this is the reason it's so debatable. Growing up, there's 3 towns that make up my hometown. And in all 3 different towns, different versions of our family, extended family, lived in those towns. And they're pronounced differently in each of the towns. Oh. So in my town, it was Kisan. In my grandparents' town, it was Kisan.
Uh-huh.
And then what you just said, Kisan, is another version. And so I've never really made the decision exactly which one is mine, but it's spelled Kisan. Mm-hmm. I like Kisan, but again, that's for my town.
I never even heard that pronunciation until you were on Minnesota Live one day, and they introduced you, and I was like, have I been saying it wrong, or did they grossly get it wrong?
Is it okay, so you do a lot of on-air things. Is it something that when you see it on paper, because everyone asks me about it.
Yeah, but
Kisan.
But I am notorious for mispronouncing things, so I am not the authority on this. But that's just how I've always said it. I don't know why. I think we go with Kisan. If that's how you grew up saying it.
Or Kisan is good too.
Kisan,
I think is we just have to make a decision and stick with it because I'm really concerned about all of the different pronunciations.
I feel like I'm naming my 3rd child.
And I feel like every time I'm on air, we spend most of the interview figuring out how to say my last name.
We just did this on My Talk with Brittany and Kendall, trying to figure out. Kisan.
Should we do Kisan?
Kisan. That feels more natural to me because I've been saying it that way for so long.
And I can get behind that.
Okay, good. So this is David Kisan from Sip and Bloom. Also, I love to refer to you as my partner in creativity.
Love that.
David and I met, it's been more than 5 years, right?
Originally at Lululemon. Liz introduced us.
Yes, that's right. It was a Lululemon event. Our friend Liz Kruger introduced us. David was doing one of his workshops, and I was invited as an influencer. I am terrible at floral arranging. And I remember I was just standing there next to you, help me the whole time. But I immediately loved your energy. We just vibed.
And also that's not true. You're actually quite good at flowers.
Do you think so?
I do.
Okay. Thank you. Maybe I need to give myself more credit. But we just instantly vibed, started following each other on Instagram. Mm-hmm. And then, I don't know, was it a year later, maybe?
It was about a year later.
About a year later. And I had put a post on my Instagram page that was just, I was feeling stuck in my career where I felt like I spend most of my time working one-on-one with women. And it's a lot of giving permission and encouraging and coaching them that like, yes, you can dress for your most authentic self. And while I love that, it also, I feel like my creativity is stifled at times. And so I was like, I just want to do something really fun and creative. I didn't even say runway. I was just like, I want to do something fun and creative. If anybody wants to partner, reach out. And you saw the post and then you reached out to me. I
the picture perfectly. It's Carlene Olsen. Right?
Yeah. Yes, it was.
Grocery store.
Yes.
And I just loved the energy of the photo. And it had a long caption. And I decided to do the deep dive and read through it.
Thank you for reading.
You're welcome. And I loved the messaging, and I was very much at the same place. Yeah. So Sip and Bloom Runway had caught on. People saw it, and it had started the reputation build that we've continued to work towards.
Yep.
And I realized that this is a little bit bigger than what I can just do on my own. And I needed a partner to come in on it. And I wanted someone with your exact skill set. I wanted someone that was the styling person that was going to work with the boutiques and be at the center of our fashion voice. And there you were.
There it was, through fate or good fortune. And I remember, this is always, whenever I speak at like the Wayzata High School, I go in start of every school year and give a little speech. And I always talk about this. And when you reach out and you said, have you ever done runway? Which I had not, but I didn't say no. Instead, I just said, I am confident I can deliver. And I think that's
great response.
It is such a great response because I think that like somebody has to take a chance on you, right? And if I were to say no, it might immediately put some doubt in your mind. So it's just like, I'm confident I can deliver. And boy, have we delivered.
Right. And before I started to produce runway here in Minneapolis, I obviously love fashion. This is something that has always been part of who I am, but I've never produced a runway show. It was sort of a thing that I just decided one day that I was going to do. And you have to figure it out as you're going through the process. The very first show that we did, it was part of Fashion Week Minnesota, and it was in 2021. We were the first show out of the pandemic. Everyone was scared to do a fashion show. It was still like everyone had to be 5 feet apart and wearing masks. And luckily...
And you did it on the rooftop at your place.
So luckily, my building has a rooftop that is beautiful. It's indoor, outdoor. So it hit all of the right notes at the right time. And I also just wasn't scared. I was like, we're just going to figure this out and we're just going to do it. And so we were the first show out of COVID. And that show slayed. I love that you're wearing butterflies because it was urban gardens. It was very all about bringing the botanicals into fashion, which is very much my voice when it comes to what I'm looking for out of runway presentations. And it was just like a perfect little start. But all to say,
I'm so sad I missed that. I was out of town.
You were out
Remember,
of town.
I was out of town. I was stalking your Instagram because I was also at that point newer to like the fashion scene in Minneapolis, like realizing that there was a thing called Fashion Week and going to those events. And I think that was like year one, I went to most events by myself because I didn't know anyone. And then I remember that was like year 2 that I was aware of Fashion Week and I was so excited to go. And then I was out of town. It was so stunning. So you had Joy Noelle doing her couture gown.
And she's amazing. Just saw her the other night.
So talented.
She literally just, she is a very curated person and it is so reflected in her work.
Yeah.
It's every single stitch on that garment is made to measure for your body. It's insane. Working with her was a whole education. Yeah. Truly. And how detailed you can be in this work.
Yeah.
And so, she is one of our great treasures. Yes. And of course, Karen Morris.
So Karen Morris
is actually how it all started.
Okay.
So randomly, I was scrolling on Instagram and I see Karen Morris did a collection. Oh my gosh, it was Easter hats. And it was a beautifully curated collection of, oh my gosh, just perfect, little hats in a very authentic style. And I said, this isn't Minneapolis. I had to click on her link multiple times and refresh it to make sure it wasn't New York City or Paris or London.
Yes, Karen is
she's so
incredibly talented.
And so, and I kept refreshing it. It kept saying Minneapolis. So then I just called her, just randomly, like hit the phone number. And she picked up, and in her authentic Karen self, she goes, hello?
I love
She
Karen.
kills me. She's so good.
She's so sweet.
And she's the person that was the very first one to say, yes, I'm in on this show. Whatever you want, like, let's just do it. Urban Gardens was already part of her collection at that time.
Okay.
So it was more just using pieces that she already had. But then as the conversation goes, she was the first person to be like, okay, let's make a few extra hats. And she's so great in the creative process.
Yes, she is. Yes, she is.
And she's the one that introduced me to Joy. And then the whole thing has sort of unraveled from there.
Oh, and it's so fun to see just even like your growth and our growth together over the years. I will never forget Picnic, which was the first show that we did together. I know we have our little
I'm holding the book because this is the first thing that we worked on together in this space, I think. But it was...
no, it wasn't in this space. I was in a different space.
But all to say, when I look back at these pictures... So I think I said this to you even before we worked on this book. And it's becoming more and more relevant to me every single day. But sometimes I do what I do because it's business sense and you have to do it, right? Because you want to grow your business and you want to grow your brand. But sometimes I do things because I know that they're going to drop me off at the old age home soon. And when I get there, I told you this.
I know.
I want a few good outfits and I want my collection of my work that I have done. And I want to show all my new friends like what I did when I was young.
Oh my God, I die. I die every time you say that. And I just hope that we somehow end up in the same old home together because what a hoot.
I think
Chris and Danny can come too.
Yeah, they can come.
Oh, I know. I love this. You do. You always print off a book and it's so special and we get to sit and I have my stack as well and go through it. I am so proud of these shows. I remember, especially this being my very first, I felt so much pressure to deliver. And one thing that I think that I've grown to just love you so much as a human is like, you're always so encouraging, so positive. I'm the spiral squad. Like I start spiraling, I go dark. I'm like, it's all falling apart. And you're always the one that just is so optimistic. And you come from this place of positivity and you're like, you got it. I believe in you. And starting something when you're scared and you've never done it before, to have a partner that is not hovering or questioning your decisions, but like truly encouraging me and pushing me. And I feel like every time we work together, like you'll have an idea and I'll be like, ooh, but what if we did this? And you'll be like, ooh, but what if we did that? And it just continues to get better and better and better. And I always leave time with you so energized. And I just think that that's like a beautiful quality of yours. Like, I really love that when I call you and I'm all like, oh my God, and so, and you're like, who cares? You're just like, who cares?
Who cares?
Who cares?
Well, I'm a self-starter. I grew up in a family of entrepreneurs. And
one of seven.
Of seven.
Third generation florist.
Third generation florist, yes. Which is, I love that about my history. But totally different side of my life. My grandmother, my dad's mom, was a very fashionable woman. She is incredibly chic. She always owned her own business, always a women-led business.
Yep.
And she was always very proud of her work. And yet you could see the cracks, you know? Like it was never a perfect project, but she was always working towards something. And that, I think, is the reason that I'm so optimistic and so, I don't think that the project needs to be done when you present it. I think that you need to show people where you are at that moment.
I love that.
And
life skill there.
Totally. And but I think that that's a really great lesson that everyone should be utilizing more, especially if you're going to be in this space. If you're going to be in the entrepreneurial space, your project is not done. And if it is, then you probably have a pretty boring project, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I think let people in on the cracks. Let them, get to a place where nowadays, when we do our runway presentation, when we'll do our May show, it's going to feel very perfect to a lot of people. Is it? In my opinion, it's always going to get better.
Yeah.
We'll always refine. There's always things. I remember with the La Cabana, it was one specific look. And you came up to me after and you said, why didn't I button that vest?
Oh, yes. That still actually haunts me.
Yeah. It's such a simple detail.
It's such a simple detail. But what happened was with La Cabana was the first time that we did outfit changes. So we went from we showed, here's how you wear it during the day. And then we just restyled it. So it's like, here's how you transition tonight, like if you're on a vacation. And what I loved is people started to pick up on that after they came through the second time. Because I remember some people in the audience were like, at first I was like, wait, didn't we already see that top? But then they started to click that like, oh, wait, they're reworking it, which is how we vacation, right? Like I don't bring a new outfit for every single event like you can wear. So I love that we just kind of dropped that in. But we had a team of young girls from a high school that were helping, and they were so incredibly wonderful. And they all were assigned a person, and because I knew I couldn't get to everybody in that quick of time frame. And I remember when I saw afterward her go out and she didn't have the vest buttoned, I was like, oh, I wanted it buttoned because it just looked so much more crisp and clean and chic. But I didn't inspect everyone before they went out. There just wasn't time.
Right.
And nobody would know. But yes, to your point, I was like, that bothered me.
Yeah. But part of it though, for you might say, major regret, wish I buttoned that jacket. But for some young, fresh designer right off the scene, maybe they're coming straight out of the U or something like that. They might have seen that exact same look and said, wow, they didn't button the vest. And it might start a whole revolution.
Yeah.
And we have no clue.
Yeah.
So I think all to say, yes, we in this business, you have to make decisions and you have to stick with them. But you have no clue what the repercussions of those are going to be until you're in the moment.
For years, I struggled with symptoms I couldn't explain. What I now know was the start of perimenopause. My general practitioner missed it. My naturopath missed it. I spent over $10,000 on testing. I tried every supplement Instagram threw at me, and still nothing worked. But I refused to give up because this is not as good as it gets. Then I found Harmoni Wellness. One consult literally changed everything. I was in their office that same day, finally feeling seen and heard. I started hormone replacement therapy shortly after, and for the first time in years, I feel so much hope. If you are struggling, please hear me. You are not alone. Your health is absolutely worth fighting for. Schedule a free consultation with Harmoni Wellness today and take the first step toward feeling like yourself again. You are worth it. I can snap a mirror selfie of my outfit of the day with full confidence, but the second you point a camera at me, I totally panic. Suddenly I'm questioning everything, like where do my hands go? What kind of face am I supposed to make? Am I attempting to look serious and sexy, or am I laughing off to the side at something hysterical that's not even there? It just feels uncomfortable. But Professionally has completely changed the game for me when it comes to professional photos. Their photographers instantly make you feel comfortable, guiding you through poses so you never feel awkward. Plus, their playlists always set the perfect vibe the moment you walk in the door. You will be dancing your way through that photo shoot in no time. And if a little liquid confidence helps, Prosecco is served as part of the package. I'm just saying. You might know them on Instagram for their signature pink backdrop, but if bold colors aren't your thing, do not worry. They've got neutral options too. Professionally was designed to make professional photos painless and accessible with quick turnaround times and sessions as short as 15 minutes. So if it's been 5 years or more since your last headshot, consider this your sign. Book now at profeshii.com. That's PROFESHIE.com. And don't forget to mention a common thread.
Right.
I think the other thing that people don't realize about runway, well, specifically with our events, I often don't see anything on the models or full outfits until the night before the show. Because when
That's so Minnesota.
It's so Minnesota. Also, I do my best work under pressure. I fully believe that. Some of my favorite looks have come in the 11th hour when I've just figured it out and pulled it together. And I think over the years, it has brought me a lot of calm because I know that I know that in the end I can deliver. But when we're borrowing from boutiques here, you often can't pull that much clothes off the floor because they're trying to sell them until the day before. And sometimes some of the pieces that I picked ahead of time when I go to pick them up, they've sold. And so you have to pivot, or you get there and the model it doesn't fit the model the way that I thought. And then I'm changing who is wearing what.
Well, that's a very interesting part of being in the fashion community in Minneapolis. And it's both something that I will say I love and I hate, because we're not a manufacturing town.
Yeah.
We do not produce that. There are a few, Joy Noel, Rami, Ramadan Designs, that Karen Morris, that are producing here, but they're a very slim few. Whereas this is a retail town. It's an incredibly rich area where you can source incredible fashion from all over the world. So sometimes Dresden Nutman is on our runway. Sometimes, we have built amazing partnerships with Martin Patrick 3, with Requisite, with Bumbershoot, like really phenomenal brands who bring in clothes from all over the world. But I think the issue too is that you don't have that creation point with the runway. Whereas like we're presenting things that are already in motion. Right? Like these pieces have come to Minneapolis and have pertinence here, but it's not like they're made here. Whereas in my past, earlier in my career, when I was in New York or when I was in Paris, those things are being constructed from the origin of whatever it's going to be. And so it's a slight different nuance that, again, I both love it and I hate it. Right? Because we see Schiaparelli just did a phenomenal show that I'm literally crying. I'm crying over.
My most inspired designer. Like I just.
Oh, really? Interesting.
It really is.
What do you think mine is?
I don't know.
Yeah. We have matching bags.
Oh, Jacquemus.
Yeah. That's so me.
Yes. I do love.
If there is a living designer that I'm itching to meet, it's him.
Yeah. I do love him. And the Webe is doing really great things right now. I'm talking about that too.
I love the Webe too.
But Schiaparelli, I don't know. I think it's the artistry of, like, it's truly wearable art.
I think it's the theatrics for me.
Yes. The structure, the detail. And see, I'm such a detail person.
The whole time when Kendall Jenner comes out and she's not even my favorite fashion model, but when she comes out, I'm like holding my breath. I'm like, how did he do that with the form?
Yeah, the illusions that he can create.
The illusions are insane. And it's tailoring. Isn't that so insane?
Yes. It's tailoring and also just like the unexpected details. Remember the hair ties? That was like a braid tie.
I love that one.
Like, you know what I mean? Like what? You're just like random things that you would not think about. I just find it so beautiful and interesting.
And the construction. So if you really get like devils in the details, and if you get into some of that beading, you're talking about one woman that is sitting in a chair for days, not just hours. You're talking days, and beading each and every bead into this crazy mosaic that. How is that even possible? Like, that is the reason I love fashion, artistry. It's so insane what people can do.
Yeah.
So insane.
It is. And I love watching runway shows. And right now I feel like what's coming out of Paris Fashion Week is so good.
Milan also. I'm really into
Yes.
But more, that's more menswear. Milan did a really hard
they did.
core menswear fashion week. And it was insane. The Prada collection, the, Loewe was there as well. I go.
Who was the one that did the suits with the like satin bombers over the top?
Was that Prada?
I can't remember, but I loved that. I loved the casual bomber.
Maison Margiela.
Okay,
I think it was Maison Margiela.
I loved the casual bomber over the suit. That was like so fresh, you know? I don't know. I always get inspired by it of like, what are the little things that I can take away and bring to life?
Can I ask you something? So upcoming. Little plug here. Upcoming, we're working on Fashion Fight Night.
Yes.
What are you thinking you're going to wear? Like, what are things that are inspiring you? Because I think it's an interesting theme to get all dressed up for. You know, it's a fight night. It feels like we're in Vegas and we're going to see like a pay-per-view fight,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So like what
That
is the fashion?
Okay, so first of all, for those who don't know, Fashion Fight Night, David and I are reviving this. So this was something that was done 15 years ago in Minneapolis. Metro Magazine hosted it at a boxing gym. And it was a style challenge between stylists in a ring with models and racks of clothes. And David and I heard about this last year. And we were like, wait, what? We've got to bring this back. We've got to bring this back. So we're doing it February 21st at the Machine Shop in Minneapolis. Tickets are still available.
VIP, there's not much left.
If you've been to a Sip and Bloom show, you know that our VIP sells out first because there's so much value. Like we just give so much value there.
Controversial topic, real quick.
Yeah.
I've decided we're not going to do swag bags for the show.
I agree with that decision.
But I think that the reason I'm doing that, obviously the ticket is significantly a lower price point than what we have done for our runway shows. And don't worry, on May 20th or whenever we decide we're going to do our runway show, that is going to be that elevated experience again. But I've been talking to a few of our partners that have so generously sponsored this event, and they came up with some really creative ideas as to how to add that value to the VIP experience. Here's the thing. I go to these shows and someone hands me this little paper bag and I just don't want to carry it.
I never take it.
I spend a lot of time to put my outfit together, and I'm not going to carry this little silly piece of paper around in order to
right. I agree with you. I agree with you.
And while I am obsessed with our May runway shows and the way that we have worked with Katie at Bean and Row in the past to do that.
Shop the swag. It's a shop the swag. Yeah. You get to pick what you want. And we have businesses like Sigma Beauty who donates full-size products.
And it's insane. And we're going to do that again. But I think for Fight Night too, I'm thinking about the end consumer, and I'm thinking about what experience they're going to have when they're there with us. And I'm sorry, you just don't want to carry that around.
I agree.
It's just junk.
Yeah.
And I think that this show is going to be more about out of that VIP experience, which to be honest, I'm looking through our guest list right now, and it's almost all VIPs. People get the program that we serve. And I think that they're going to not only see the value, I think it's going to blow their minds.
Yeah, I agree. It always says it's going to be so fun. And this is one where, I struggle with this because I'm just not this way, but I know a lot of people sometimes are intimidated by coming to a runway show.
Totally.
If they don't see themselves as someone who's very fashion forward or on trend or whatever.
But that's my audience right there.
Yeah.
What you just said there is who I love at these events.
Yes.
And I when I'm in it and when I'm walking around there, I am looking for the people who feel uncomfortable.
Yes, you do such a good job of that.
Because my thing is, you should feel comfortable.
Right.
In the space. That is fashion. That's style.
Yes.
Style is not about going into Martin Patrick 3 with an unlimited credit card and choosing whatever you want.
Yeah.
That's fashion. That's fine.
Yeah.
And for those who have the means, awesome. But style is getting comfortable in your own skin and being able to walk into a H&M and figure out in that store how you're going to pull together a really cool look that says to the world, this is me. This is who I am. And it means different things to different people. But all to say, when I see someone that's walking around at one of our runway events and they feel like a little lost sheep, I'm like, come on, let's do that.
I know you're so incredible about that. Even when we were at an event last week or the week before, I was like, okay, who else do we know we need to say hi to? And you go, who do we not know? And I just love that about you. You are always seeking out people to make new connections with. And we do. And even one thing I am so proud of that we do really well, in addition to just the way that we execute this event and the experience, everybody we work with, we work with, from the models to the hair and makeup to the photography to the lights and the DJ, come up to us afterward and they say, I've never felt more safe and supported. I've never had more fun. I've never felt like it's been feels so easy and laid back. And I firmly believe from my years in leadership that the leader sets the tone. And even if I'm stressed, I can't show that. I need to remain calm. And you do a wonderful job of that as well. I think that's partly why we work so well together, is even in those high stress moments when we realize that we have to move all of the furniture after The La Cabana. The show is over and we realized we had to move all of the furniture upstairs.
Can we just give it, we need to do a little shout out to Bella Sarah Outdoor.
Yes. Oh,
so
yes.
John is one of my favorite people in this whole town. He's like this awesome. He has all of that custom outdoor furniture manufactured. He's an incredibly creative
He's
person.
at the International Market Square. You can find him there.
And if you've ever met him, he kind of reminds me of Mr. Sheffield from The Nanny.
Oh.
Like just such like a handsome guy.
Yeah.
But also just like has his shit together.
Yeah, he does.
And it's so amazing. And then he was looking at me and we're just staring at each other as the event planner of that event is like, we have to move all of this furniture upstairs. And he's like,
because we thought we had to the next day for them to come pick it up.
Totally. And
but they had an event.
He had like a staff coming to move furniture for him but 24 hours from when we had to start moving it. And so we're looking at each other and it was just one of those things when you produce a lot of events, there's always one little thing that you miss. Yeah. You know, it's the unfortunate truth. I've met some of the best event planners in this country. And each of them will, like, our favorite giggles with each other are like, oh, listen to this one.
Yeah.
Like, because it happens.
It happens for sure.
You're looking at hundreds of emails and you're trying to plan a million different people, a million different brands. That's one thing I love about Runway here is like, we work with, at any given show, you're talking about 60 individual creatives. Okay. Every one creative is going to give you like so much information that like you're all over the place. It's herding cats.
Yeah. But we just okay, we popped another White Claw. We like grabbed whoever was left. We're like, we'll pay you to stay. And we just moved it upstairs and it was fine. But we remain calm and we figured out. And I think that's what makes it so fun to work with you. Because it should be fun. Like this should be fun. It's not that serious. It should be fun. It's
art.
It is. And it always feels really fun.
People appreciate art more when they feel as though you're playing.
Yeah.
They don't receive it as well whenever you're taking yourself too seriously because it instantly creates that tension that's like not good tension. I love good tension. Don't get me wrong. I love the drama. But I think when you're trying too hard and when you're taking yourself too seriously, it comes across wrong.
Yeah, it does.
You know, I think there's beauty in the fact that we're all humans.
Yeah.
And that we're all making mistakes as we're working through our stuff. And there's beauty in that too. You know?
Yeah.
And I think that's what I like about it all.
Oh, it's so fun. Back to your question about what I'm going to wear to Fashion Fight Night. So when Zara came out with a collab with Everlast, which Everlast is like the brand of boxing. I bought this like really fitted little mini dress and I bought you the bodysuit, which you wore on Brittany and Kendall. It was so cool. And then you added the shorts and your cargos tucked it. It was a whole vibe. But I think I'm still going to pull that out and I don't know. I'm going to do something with it. Probably an oversized blazer since that's kind of the
that's your vibe right now.
That's my vibe right now.
What's his name? The guy that you got all the blazers from?
Jim Larson. Yeah, Jim Larson. I know. So I love to thrift for oversized blazers. I think in the men's section at Goodwill, I think that they're the best ones. Like they look like the Frankie shop, but they're $8.99, $12.99 versus $200. So I go and I thrift and I find them. And the other day I found one and the pocket was full of business cards from this gentleman named Jim Larson. And shout out to Jim. And then there was a Post-it note with the name Karen and a phone number underneath it. And
wait, handwritten?
Handwritten on a
She
Post-it
gave
note.
him his number.
And a Powerball ticket from like 2007. And I was like, Jim had one hell of a conference. I have questions. Like, did he contact Karen? Like, did he know her? Is he married? Like, I had questions.
Okay,
but I was like, I feel like I'm carrying the torch of that like Jim at a conference energy when I wear it.
Just tell you though, like you need to call some of those phone numbers and just see if like, can Jim be a host on this podcast?
Oh,
that would be.
I think I threw it away. I got to go back and dig through the trash. It would be really funny.
Insane if you could like.
I should at least look him up on LinkedIn.
Jim Larson, yeah.
I need a face to the blazer.
Yeah, and like what business does he in? I wonder.
Yeah.
Like, do you think pharmaceutical sales?
No, I can't remember. It was manufacturing or something. It was some sort of sales conference. I remember that. But it's so funny because then I like then one of the other blazers I got, they didn't cut the string, the tack on the vents, which
huge
on a blazer.
Mistake. Biggest faux pas.
PSA, when you buy a new blazer, it is tacked down right at the vents. You got to cut that. Anyway, I was like doing a story. I was like, PSA, I'm like, Jeff forgot to cut. I just like the story. I like to make up stories behind me.
I'm going to bring this back to runway. How do you deal with that when you're styling a runway shoot and we're pulling $4,000 suits from Martin Patrick?
I cut it.
You just cut it off?
Because they have an in-house tailor.
Oh, so
they can restitch it.
Okay.
But here's the thing
I've never
Martin
seen
Patrick 3 and like their level of luxury and class, I think that they would want to crawl under the table if they saw their
with the little stitch.
blazer going down the runway with the stitch in it.
That would also
you can restitch it. Right. You can restitch it. Mm-hmm. Same with pants. If they're not like, I don't stitch them, but we tuck and tape on the inside to make sure that they're hemmed the right. Because most designer pants don't come.
One thing that I like about you, and because it just drives me crazy about runway in general, it's like there are people who pay attention to the shoes and there are people who don't. Mm-hmm. And the shoes are, in my opinion, maybe some of the most, how I have a lot of feelings about shoes.
Yeah.
And it drives me nuts when you will put again, $4,000 tuxedo down a runway and you have like a $6 hot mess shoe at the bottom. Because the model brought it because that fits their size, whatever. And like,
yeah, you just have the model bring their shoes.
It's just a junky shoe.
And it's not
the
polished.
Whole thing looks bad whenever you see that.
I spend a lot of money on shoes for a runway because you can't return them once they've been down the runway.
For sure.
I have a whole collection.
Models are notoriously tough on shoes.
Yes, I have a whole collection. We also ask a lot of them. We ask them to squeeze into sizes sometimes that aren't theirs. We have a whole collection downstairs at my house. But let's talk about the shoes. So one way that we always weave florals into our shows is so fun. And you have become very skilled at making floral shoes, which I love. I keep one from every collection and I always find a way to rewear it.
Maybe I didn't know that.
You didn't know that?
Which one did you take from the
I have one from every collection. Well, I have the floral ones from the MSP Mag Toast edition that we did.
That might be my best.
The white ones. I wore those to Fashionopolis.
I also love you have the one with the boots.
I have the boot.
Was that from Picnic?
Yes, that was from Picnic, which was our first show.
I did love that.
I have some of the La Cabana ones that have the weaving on them.
Oh, good.
And I have a shell pair. One pair that has shells. Yeah.
So you do have one from every collection.
I keep one. That's my special thing too. And they're displayed. I have the shoe spinner in my closet and they're displayed. And then I do find a reason to wear them. So
okay, that's cool.
But I love the innovation in the way that we weave flowers into every show that doesn't feel obvious. Like it's always a bit of a surprise. Even when we did, I think Otherworldly was the most focused where botanicals were at the center of the storyline of it. Let's talk about Otherworldly for a minute. People like the consensus in the community is that is our best fashion show that they've ever been to.
Okay.
Remember?
I never asked that question.
Oh, everyone all over social media and afterward was the comment was, this is the best fashion show we've ever been to.
What do you think made it the best?
Because when I look at the style of the show, I don't think it was my best work. There are some pieces that I would have done differently. That one was very stressful because we were asking the designers to work with like materials that aren't. So for example, we tried the keyboard skirt. Rami tried to make a skirt out of keyboard keys and the keys would not stick to the material. And this is like 2 days before the show. And she calls me and she's like, I've tried to sew them. I can't sew them. We can't actually, you have to drill in them. She's like, I've tried all different glue. I can't. And I said, I'm like, but that's so, your portion, the tech piece was so crucial to the storyline. Yeah. So I was like, what if you got like a bunch of cords and like made them into like little bra tops or something? And that's what she did. And it turned out really cool. But it was just a lot of pivoting at the last minute because the materials that they were working with just sometimes weren't working.
That was our biggest ask.
Yeah, that was a really big one. I think what people were drawn to was the theatrics of that show. It was very with the screens and the way you had the draping and the, like when you went downstairs at the bottom of the Saks, we had old Saks off Fifth building. It was completely empty. Upstairs was shopping. Downstairs was the show. Very post-apocalyptic. I think they felt the whole vibe the second they came into it. And then I think it did tell a story without us using any word. Like visually, it told a really interesting story. So I think that's why. I think they really felt like they were transformed into some other
Are you familiar with the ILIA Awards? It's called Star Awards. So that production is up for an award this year.
What?
Yeah.
You didn't tell me this.
It's new information, but yeah. So they specifically they call it new technology in events. And,
Amazing.
And so like that, we'll see. I mean, but it might win an award for like an event planner sort of.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Amazing.
Isn't that interesting? So we might have to go to that party.
Cheers to that. That's so cool.
Vote for us.
I'm just processing.
It's not a
public voting thing.
Yeah.
But I do remember with Otherworldly though, you came to me with the original concept that you had been thinking about for a while. And you're like, if the world were to end as we know it and you had to go like below the sea or up,
like
up to space, you know, what would the future of fashion of that be? And I remember like thinking about that, but then everything that I was thinking about felt too literal.
On the nose.
Yeah. And too costumey. Mm-hmm. And so then this is where, again, like David always sets the, like, here's the theme, but you also give me a lot of creative control then to like my own interpretation. And then I remember we started talking more and I was like, but what if the story is more like technology is
eating us from the inside.
Eating us. And we have to go back to relying on the botanicals for our oxygen again. And then it just became this whole storyline. And then when you pushed Joy out on the cart, because she was basically lifeless, and you were the mad scientist, she come running out. That was my favorite. And she was laying there, and the DJ played the sound that was like a heart beating, like on a monitor, like boom, 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 boom. And then all of a sudden she went and stood up and just walked her. I mean, that was a moment. And I was backstage, but could kind of see off the side. That was a Generation Bliss dress. So our friend Ella owns a boutique in Chicago, Generation Bliss.
I loved it. It was beautiful ombre. It
was so beautiful.
It moved really to a very delicate, like a mango color at the bottom, and just like shook me.
Yes. And when I saw that dress, I was like, this is a finale piece. And she was barefoot, and it was just so simple and beautiful. But I was standing backstage seeing it, and I was like goosebumps and crying because the whole audience went silent in that moment. Like, they thought the show was over. And then you come barreling out with the cart and everybody's silent and you see this, and it was moving. Like, it really, I think that's part of it. It moved people in just a really interesting way. And the floral dresses that Suzanne
Studios Moms.
High Creative made these, it was like these crepe. It was entire flower made out of crepe in these dresses. And so that was kind of the like.
She called the girls her flowers. Yes. And I was like, so freaking elegant.
It was. But I remember when you first came to this idea, I was like, I don't know, David. And then like the way it all came together, I was like, you just have such a vision.
The gas mask.
That's
what killed me.
Mm-hmm. And it was this juxtaposition of like these like sequins. Remember one had like a sequin dress on, the green sequin dress. Yeah. And I had that like utilitarian vest over it, and then she had a gas mask.
My favorite. So my favorite in both images and, do you remember Professionally? We're at Professionally right now. That the drone video that they did. Of that specific scene, what you're talking about right there.
Yeah.
To this day, I like look at that video, and it's specifically the green sequence with the gas mask, and the model walks by, and I'm like, this was in Paris. Mm-hmm. Like this, it was so elevated.
And this was also after the Margiela show. Remember the one?
Tell me more.
Was it Margiela? The one that we loved that was like very dark and moody. And it was like telling the understory of Paris.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Remember we watched that show on repeat.
Mm-hmm. I still watch that on repeat.
And so it felt of that time kind of too, you know what I mean? Of just this moody storyline without
the underpinnings of fashion.
Oh, it was so great.
Underground.
So stay tuned for May. We're doing our typical spring in May again, which will be really
fun. I think I should come back onto your podcast at some point and we just do a deep dive on the May thing, because I feel like it's worth a whole podcast, because I have a lot of feelings about it. And
we love to hear your feelings.
Well, it's our 5th anniversary show.
Yes, it is.
Which is a huge milestone.
Yeah.
You know, if you think about it, fashion is, for many people, it can be what do they call that? Flash in the pot or something?
Yeah. Flash in the pan?
Flash in the pan, something like that. It's a deep frying reference. I'm not very good at cooking. But I think so many people love fashion, and they can do it, but just for a short period of time, because it's taxing.
It is.
I mean, you know better than most. You've been in the grind with me for now 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's some of the best work, but it's it's not easy work.
No, it's not. And I always end up like falling apart. I'm a bundle of nerves. And Chris is always like, why are you doing this? Like financially, you don't make enough to like for this level of stress. It doesn't, but it's such a
money.
I know it's such a labor of love, but I'm like, I won't give it up until you decide you're done with me. Like I love it.
Oh my gosh, it's so sweet.
Much. And we have so much fun together. And I feel like it just pushes me. And I think some level of stress is healthy. Like it pushes me and my creativity to levels that I didn't even know I had.
You can't make anything beautiful